NFL just weeks away from training camp, and your Detroit Lions, a month from today, August 8th. Today's July 8th.
Yep.
Yeah, August 8th, play the Giants.
Yep.
How about that?
Jeez.
Can you believe
right
it?
Around the corner.
Where's that game going to be?
It's in New York, I believe. I think the Lions will
I'll be there.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I don't know if I'll go to the game, but I'll be there.
Fantastic. Football season right around the corner. Lots of content NFL related coming out from some of the networks. And I saw this from ESPN.com, and it had the rankings of NFL running backs, and it was as ranked by executives, coaches, and scouts. Okay, so this isn't fans or votes or anything like that. Pretty legitimate, I would say.
These are the GMs, the coaches, and the scouts.
Top 10 running backs. Okay? How about a little music, KG?
I got you.
Get you geared up for it. I am shocked by where Jahmyr Gibbs is on this list. We're going to start with number one. You guys tell me, as we're going through, if you agree or not. Okay, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Best running back out there?
Agreed.
Yeah, after last season, 100%.
How about number two on this list? The second best running back. You can drop me, Pete. Nobody needs to see me. The second best running back in the NFL, Breece Hall of the Jets.
Braylon and I talked about him last week, right? Yeah. This kid, through injuries, is still one of the best backs in the game. So I would not have an issue with him in the top five. I don't know if I'd put him at number two.
Yeah, that's
But
crazy.
I think I'd have him in the top five.
Legit dual threat, a glider with high-level change of direction and vision. NFL personnel evaluator. Home run hitter with the ball in his hands, can grind volume, create explosives at any moment.
Yeah, I think, if you don't like him being that high based off him having the injury and just not having success, the Jets haven't been successful, although he's been successful in his 2-year career, then I understand that. But if you want to look at potential and you want to look at the season that he had before he got injured and then look at the season that he had last year, come back with 1,000 yards, this kid's dynamic. And what he's doing, that offensive line wasn't together last year. That's why they had so much struggle at quarterback. With no offensive line and no second receiver. All they really had was Garrett Wilson, no tight end play. So to have a season like that with no offensive weapons, I can understand why they have a lot of stake in Breece Hall. Jahmyr Gibbs had an amazing rookie campaign, tremendous season, catching the ball out of the backfield and running the ball. But when you look at what Jahmyr Gibbs is around and Ben Johnson at the helm of offense, they were a tough offensive team. Number two, if I'm correct, in the NFL by all parts, Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So a lot more for Jahmyr Gibbs to have more success. Breece Hall, it was him and Garrett Wilson.
Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, 3-4 on this list. Nick Chubb was number one in last year's ranking. At 28 years old, he now comes in at number 3 on this list. And we were talking about Saquon Barkley earlier, moves from the Giants to the Philadelphia Eagles. Last year's ranking number 4, this year's ranking number 4. What do you guys think about that?
I'd rather have Jahmyr Gibbs than Saquon Barkley. That's me.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him up close and personal. But guys around the NFL might not have had their eyes on Jahmyr Gibbs as much as we have.
Yeah.
They will, though.
This is true.
I can promise you that.
With Nick Chubb, he's a walking 1,300 yards. Like, the key is him staying healthy. Now, that would be a concern for me ranking him this high because tearing your ACL and, year 6, and which you had injuries and knee injuries in college as well. So that would be skeptical for me. But he's walking 1,300. You give Nick Chubb the ball, he's going to find 92 yards a game in the NFL. So I don't have a problem with that. Saquon, he shows you that he's diligent. I think he came back last year. I don't have a problem with him being 4. I think he's at where he should be at.
All right, next page of this. Again, this is the top 10 running backs as put together by NFL execs, coaches, and scouts. At number 6, they're out there, so let me just list them and then we'll talk about them. Jonathan Taylor, number 5 from the Colts. Bijan Robinson, number 6 on this list of the Atlanta Falcons. Then Josh Jacobs of the Packers, formerly the Raiders. Jahmyr Gibbs comes in at number 8 on this list. And I think what's shocking to me above all else, take out the Jonathan Taylors and the Bijan Robinsons and the Josh Jacobs and Christian McCaffreys. I'm shocked that Bijan Robinson is ranked higher from NFL execs, coaches, and scouts than Jahmyr Gibbs. Bijan 6, Jahmyr Gibbs 8.
Once again, and this is no Jahmyr Gibbs hate. I have to preface it like that before the Detroit Lions fan base jumps on me. This is no hate. I love Jahmyr Gibbs' game. In fact, I still have one of his football cards from Georgia Tech. So hear me out when I say this. If you look at that list, every back on there so far is their number one running back on the team. And what I mean by that, there's not really two running backs. It's not a double-headed monster, if you will, on these teams. Josh Jacobs is the guy. Bijan Robinson is although they do have
Tyler Algier.
Yeah, Algiers isn't bad, but Bijan is expected to be the guy. Jonathan Taylor is the number one guy. Christian McCaffrey, they're number one guys. So I think in this just particularly, it could be me, they're not punishing him, but they're waiting to see what Jahmyr Gibbs does this year. I guess I guarantee you whoever put this list out wants Jahmyr Gibbs to rank him at third. But until he does it, becomes number one, does it the season, they're not going to move him up. Just my thought.
Maz, let me just read for you what they say about Bijan Robinson here. Robinson didn't quite validate the hype as a rookie. His 976 rushing yards in 2023 tied for 15th. And he fell short of the projections for the number 8 pick in a run-heavy offense. To be sure, Robinson's usage, despite his obvious ability to shake defenders, was curious at times. Robinson got more than 15 carries in 4 of 17 games. The production is not all him. He's a top 5 talent at the position right now. That's why in year 2, the expectations are massive. Robinson led the league with 5.2 yards per carry against boxes of 7 or more defenders. 35 explosive plays, ranks 3rd for running backs. If he gets to the 2nd or 3rd level, he's incredibly hard to tackle. Deceptive speed once he gets loosed. LaShawn McCoy is the comp. Hard to touch him.
He's going to be one of the best coming up here. There's no doubt. We wanted to draft him. We wanted him.
Ryan
as college fans, as NFL fans, we wanted Bijan Robinson. And when they passed up on him, we all like, damn, no Bijan Robinson with Jahmyr Gibbs? What? And then we got to watch Jahmyr Gibbs. But like what Braylon said, with this Lions offense, it makes Jahmyr Gibbs' job a little easier.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what the hell this offense is going to do. Bijan, you know they're just going to feed him. And all these running backs, they're all getting fed. Jahmyr has everything around him to make him one of the best. Yet still looking at him and watching football as long as I have, he has it. Jahmyr Gibbs has it.
That's the point, Maz. I mean, I think if you just watch and see the abilities that he has, when he touches the football, it's incredible. Here's what they say about Jahmyr Gibbs now. While Bijan Robinson was the top back in 2023, some scouts preferred Gibbs' skill set and versatility. That's why the Lions selected him at 12, 4 picks behind Robinson, which didn't shock some. Change of pace, fast, elusive, versatile, an AFC executive said. Dynamic in the pass game, not a typical north-south runner you love in a run-heavy offense, but he can break explosive plays at the snap of a finger, which is very scary in our league. Despite the presence of power back David Montgomery, the Lions made sure Gibbs was heavily involved his rookie season. 234 touches over 15 games, 1,200 total yards, 11 touchdowns, 5.4 yards per carry out of the shotgun formation, the best among running backs. He also led the league with 6.3 yards rushing to the right side. Derrick Henry and Travis Etienne round out the top 10. Derrick Henry getting a little long in the tooth there, but nonetheless should have a good year for Baltimore. I think if I'm a general manager outside of Christian McCaffrey, I am selecting Jahmyr Gibbs number 2 above any other running back in the National Football League. You can have, let's just stick with the Lions.
Yeah.
If you could have any running back in the NFL today outside of Christian McCaffrey, I'm selecting Jahmyr Gibbs.
I've always been there with you. I love the guy. And
he is perfect for this
He'd be
offense.
my number 1 guy. He would be.
It's a beautiful situation. I keep saying I love Jahmyr Gibbs. It's a beautiful situation. But what do you always talk about? You talk about the fit. You guys are looking from the sense of the fit. Now, you watched last year that fit Jahmyr Gibbs had pause with the Detroit Lions. It worked to the tune of all the stats that you just
1,200 yards plus.
You just riddled off. But if you take Jahmyr Gibbs as he was last year, take him as he is this year, and you just throw him in the Buffalo Bills, how did Jahmyr Gibbs look with the Buffalo Bills?
He might look great.
I'm just asking, is it the same system? Is it the same things? Because remember when Tony Pollard was running behind Zeke, and he was the guy doing the secondary back stuff. He was a dynamic running back, catching the passes out of the backfield, doing the screens, doing the getting outside the lines. He looked amazing. They get rid of Zeke and they make Tony Pollard the number one guy. All of a sudden, he doesn't look the same, and I think that's more so what you're waiting to see from Gibbs. Remember, even Christian McCaffrey. After Christian McCaffrey's first year, his second, third, it's like, is this guy a between the tackles guy? Is he every down running back guy? Is he like Reggie Bush? Where Reggie Bush really is better as a secondary running back, we'll figure it out. It took Christian McCaffrey a long time to get back to that. We're finding there are no questions. Christian McCaffrey is the back. Christian McCaffrey can run up the middle through the tackles and out to the side. I think with Jahmyr Gibbs, you're just still waiting to see, is he in one back or is he Tony Pollard with the Dallas Cowboys when he still has Zeke?
But don't you feel like, Bray, when you look at the Lions specifically, and you could have any running back on that list, doesn't Jahmyr Gibbs fit the Lions better
100%
than any other player
He does.
on that list? And including a Bijan Robinson. And if the Lions had to do it all over again, and how many times do we say this? If you could redraft the draft, the idea that you would still take the same player is pretty darn good, because I would think Brad Holmes would do this 10 times out of 10. I know I would. I would pick Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan Robinson 10 times out of 10, specifically for this Detroit Lions offense.
I just want to remind everyone, all those numbers that Ryan gave you, they're not in 17 games. They're like in 12 games, because they didn't even use them the first 4 or 5 games. Right?
Yeah,
think about what he did.
We're trying to figure
think about what he did.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. He got better as the year went on. One mistake, NFC Championship, ran the wrong hole, and that was the end of it.
He started on the wrong side of the ball, too, so that play kind of was doomed from jump. But, yeah, you're right. Jahmyr Gibbs showed it, especially he ran between the tackles at the end of the season. He ran between the tackles in the playoffs. He's a dominant force, and you saw the last kind of 4 or 5 games of the season, he was the number one back for the Detroit Lions. David Montgomery started taking secondary carries and secondary touches. So we'll just see how it plays out this year. I'm interested to see, will they put him in as the number one back? Is he going between the tackles? Is he also going outside? How many touches is Jahmyr Gibbs going to get per game? That'll determine if he can move up this list and go to number one or stay floating around, kind of like an Alvin Kamara range. Alvin Kamara is the guy who's made how many Pro Bowls? 4 or 5. How many times did Alvin Kamara rush for 1,000?
He didn't.
0 times. He's a special elite type of back, but he's a different type of guy. Alvin Kamara in his younger years. He's not even on that list. Can you imagine Alvin Kamara in this system in his younger years, in his prime?
Oh, he'd have been nasty.
Once again, Alvin Kamara, kind of a system type player.
Well, and he is Kamara was really. I don't know if this is right or not, but Alvin Kamara is really the first running back that I can think of. Maybe get in the chat and let me know if I'm out of bounds here by saying this. Alvin Kamara is really the first guy that I can think of that really kind of turned the running back position into that slash.
Yeah.
Cordell Stewart was a wide receiver that played running back. I'm just talking about a running back that really was such a dual threat.
Yeah.
That could burn you out of the backfield so many different ways. He really is the first one that I can think of in the league that changed that position.
Not trying to one up you, but you named the team and it got me thinking. It's Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush. That's
same
a good
team.
one too. Yeah.
It's something
true.
about the Saints. They always find these guys, right?
But even Reggie Bush in the NFL, like Reggie Bush in college,
elite
was that guy. I mean, Reggie Bush in the NFL was good.
True.
He was a good player.
1,000-yard rusher.
Alvin Kamara was, MVP type stuff.
He had a good
electric.
Run. He had a good 3-year run.
Yeah,
electric.
Reasons,
so that's why I think Gibbs is just that guy. Now I don't know what will happen this year with David Montgomery or how they're going to incorporate all of these. This is so great to talk about, but the Lions have so many weapons.
Yeah,
there is one football. There is so many guys that could do damage with that ball. Montgomery, Gibbs, St. Brown, Jamo, Laporta. 5 guys right there.
Raymond.
Khalif Raymond could do damage with. There's just so much talent offensively. You don't know who's going to beat you. It's really hard to double anybody.
Listen to these honorable mentions, Brian.
Okay.
Aaron Jones, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Kenneth Walker,
who's
Seattle.
going to have a fantastic.
Have you seen what he looks like
I
lately?
did. He is going to be a stud this year, but he doesn't have a quarterback. Who's the quarterback in Seattle?
Oh, yeah.
Again, if you could stack the box and stop the running back with no threat of a pass game.
So let me ask this question though. You said who's the quarterback now? We know Geno. We knew even when Geno had the year, comeback player of the year, and got paid and blah blah blah. We knew he wasn't going to be a long-term guy. But when you surround him with the talent that he has, you got Kenneth Walker in the backfield. You got Jackson Smith and Jibba. You still have Tyler Lockett, who's got he just signed a new 2-year, and you got DK Metcalf, who it's still a dominant wide receiver in this league. Shoot, even the average quarterback can get lucky.
Really good offense.
Heck yeah,
you're right.
Isaiah Pacheco's in this. Had a great year last year.
Yeah,
7th round pick.
Boy, he runs hard too. I love the way he runs violently.
He runs like
I
Earl
love the
Campbell.
way he runs.
I know it sounds crazy because he's much smaller than Earl
I
Campbell.
love the way he
Earl
runs.
Campbell,
He does.
like menacing,
He's aggressive.
almost.
James Cook. And here's your guy, Alvin Kamara. He makes it in. He's got a paragraph long worth of stuff to read for him. He's been terrific. Yeah. Joe Mixon now with the Texans. Swift is with the Bears. And then they go on from there. Kieran Williams for the Rams.
Couple of people in the chat are mentioning Marshall Faulk.
Yeah.
Is a guy. That's a good. But he was.
That's true. But Marshall Faulk was running between the tackles for 2,000 yards in San Diego State.
Majority.
That's a great call. If you want to say a dual threat running back, then maybe the second one. Says
I don't really consider Darren Sproles of the Eagles.
Sproles
was good.
He's a specialist.
He was dual threat a little bit, not as much as Marshall Faulk.
Third down player though.
Marshall.
Yeah, like Marshall Faulk's like. In fact, he did win MVP, so he's an MVP guy. It was a good call, but nah.
Yeah.
I see exactly. Kind of like an X Factor, where like you're going into this game, and he's like, you got an X Factor guy, and you put him solely at one position. It's like he's not just going to do a bunch of things. He's playing running back, but doing those things as well.
You can't name Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who is, if you had to pick right now, breakout season for the Detroit Lions to where turning the heads of the entire NFL? Wouldn't it be Gibbs?
Yes.
Over Laporta, over
they already turned heads. They already turned heads.
Yeah, yes.
I'm talking about Gibbs and Laporta. Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
But I'm just saying when you have all of the offensive talent that the Detroit Lions have, like, who is that number 2? We talk about that number 2. Is it Laporta? I mean, are they such a pass-heavy offense now that you consider Laporta is that guy? Because I believe that Jahmyr Gibbs has completely overtaken David Montgomery as the lead back on this team.
Yeah,
I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am.
We need them both,
though. Absolutely. Yep. You need 2.
Need them both.
But I guess it's situationally dependent on what you may need at the time, but
don't forget Sione Votke.
I think Gibbs is going to have a huge year this year. And I think that's so hard to say. When you say huge year, there's only one football to go around. It's so much talent. So maybe nobody has a huge year. It's just a collective offense.
That's what it appears that way.
It's funny because as much as I'm talking about Jahmyr Gibbs fitting the system and being a cog in this wheel, you say who's number 2. I'm not so sure that number 2 is not Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, hear me out when I say this, especially going into the season. Amon-Ra St. Brown has 1,400 plus yards. Mm-hmm. How many touchdowns did he have? 8, 9 touchdowns. Amon-Ra is a guy that he's going to get you third down conversion. He has short hands. He blocks. He does all the things. He's a great player for you. But they're going to run the offense more through Jahmyr Gibbs this year. If you look at the things that he does, he creates mismatches on defense when you put him certain spots of the backfield, you split him in the slot, you put him out wide. I think he becomes the guy that if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm keying in on how are they going to use Jahmyr Gibbs? What is going to be his role in this game? I'm spending probably much more film as a defensive coordinator watching Jahmyr Gibbs than I am going to spend on Amon-Ra St. Brown.
10 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, and Jahmyr's 11 in 14 games, as you tell me. I think Jahmyr Gibbs will be the focal point of the offense, and I think moving forward, defensive coordinators, they're going to key in on Jahmyr Gibbs 100%.